Hello, hello, hello.
What's going on, everyone?
Hey.
Franklin, what's up, my dude?
Nothing much. What are you guys up to?
We're here. We're living large, man.
Ready for the
Are we doing
next installation.
It's kind of cool that, like, you know, all three of us are back again.
Yep. Oh man, it's really, is it?
Yeah.
Is this the first show back?
It's been a hot minute, you know?
Has it been?
Hasn't it?
Oh wait, yeah, you're right. Because I did the show due to some unfortunate things that were going on.
Yeah.
With the car, so
yeah.
Still haven't figured that out, but that's fine.
You two look so much more comfortable next to each other too.
We are.
We sure are. We're in our element for sure. So, Frank, what you been up to, man? What's been going on? What's good?
Work. So DJing, day jobbing, podcasting, all the above, right? And then in the meantime, parenting or pretending like I know what I'm doing, parenting. So that's it for me.
That is awesome.
Look at Chris Disc showing up on multiple platforms.
I know, right?
Oh yeah, he's locked into to Twitch and YouTube.
He's that multi-platform type of dude.
Appreciate it for sure. Yeah, thanks for being on, man. And I saw Hector pop up too. Hector's awesome. I actually got to work with Hector on Friday. Hector is a DJ for Y Entertainment, and he's an awesome dude. He got the party rocking, and it was a good time for sure. Good stuff. So we're working on putting out a little request now love.
Yeah.
In the meantime, and
request now stuff out here.
That's it.
Get any more into social media? You need to. There you go. Yeah, man.
It's good. It's good to hear. Yeah. Good to see it. Frank, anything else? You said you were DJing too?
Yeah. So I had a wedding last weekend, got a wedding this weekend, got two weddings. Like it's finally, I think the 2-wedding weekend kind of officially means that it's like all back in business.
You're back. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one comes up in go ahead.
I was just going to say, what does the wedding schedule look like for you? Is it, because I know in Florida here, like more like July, August is pretty sparse because it's so hot. What's the schedule like for you up in Virginia? Is it more like summertime weddings up there?
No. So normally July and August is is like not. I wouldn't call it dead, right? But like the outdoor venues don't book quite like the indoor venues do.
Right.
You know, what's up, Ern?
Hey, thanks for being on, brother.
Look at this. It's
Right?
like all of our good friends are here tonight.
What's going on?
But
it makes me feel good too that they are.
For sure.
Yeah. But this year, like other than having the first weekend of July off, I don't really have any other weekends off at all. And July is more booked than normal. August is more booked than normal. And then September, October, November is, I mean, those are always, October is like the busiest month for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Here. So, and of course, that just means it's like double busy this year. So, yeah, I mean, but I'm excited because, you know, I've been antsy. It's like the first time you do a wedding when you haven't done a wedding in a very long time, you just realize not only how much fun it is, but like what you really brought to the table. And because you're like kind of doing it again now. But I had a really not troubling, but I had a tough experience this weekend where there was a guest at the wedding that we DJ'd that had a very serious health emergency during the event that literally kind of had to shut the whole event down for that 30 to 45 minutes. So it was definitely challenging to, you know, because you're navigating like what do the couple want, right? What's the right thing to do? All of the above, like all of those things became, you know, more difficult, right? Like, and this wasn't just like a fell and broke their leg or twisted their ankle kind of thing. This was a real like health emergency when it was happening. So that was kind of challenging to kind of navigate that. But they moved the guests up to a separate location. The best man started doing magic tricks just to try to like lighten the mood for everybody.
Yeah,
nice. We threw a speaker up there, put a little background music on, just something to kind of like help draw the attention away. And then once that person got the attention that they needed from some medical professionals, then the couple said, "Look, we want to make the best of it." So eased everybody back on the dance floor, and then finished it out as hard as we could within reason, right, for the last 30, 45 minutes. And right, it's one of those things that is just challenging to deal with. But when you're talking about a lot of people in one space, you never know what could happen, and things happen. But I think the whole team of vendors handled it really, really well. So that was nice. Other than it was just a difficult situation. So that was my weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you all?
It was a great weekend. My events they went off smoothly. It was really nice and good weather and good things all around. And yeah, it was really awesome. Yeah.
Good weekend, man. I think good weekend for everybody.
Yeah.
It was like a blur though for me.
It was a blur.
Yeah.
I honestly have a hard time remembering things.
I know. I was sitting here thinking like, I hope Frank doesn't ask me, because I'm going to have to pull my calendar out and look at what I did.
Honestly,
I know it was a lot of fun, but it was just a blur of like craziness.
Dude, I'm exhausted. It was great.
Bigger and back to his old tricks.
Dude, yeah, it was tough.
It's back to the old, oh, cool.
Nice.
All right. What else we got? Hey, you guys got anything else?
Jazzy time. No, I'm good. I think we're ready to kick the show off.
Sounds good. Yeah. So real quick, just want to always, of course, thank you. Look at Hector bragging.
Dude, Hector did kill it.
Yeah, Hector's bragging with the 3-event weekend. But that's good, man. Yeah, that's good, man. He must work for a good company.
I heard the owner was questionable.
He's a piece of work, man. Just want to thank everybody for watching. As always, we're happy to have you guys on. Feel free to drop some comments as our buddies Chris Disk, Big Earn, and Hector are doing so. Yes, Hector, we are not Hector. See, now I'm confusing them. They look so much alike that I'm confusing them now.
Big Earn, you have to come through, man.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I hope to see you.
By the way, Hector and Big Earn do not look alike at all. But anyways, feel free to drop your comments, questions, insults, anything that you'd like to drop in there. We'll take them all. We're happy to read them and share them and work through them. If they're a negative thing, we'll work through them.
Let's work through it.
I noticed something before we get started, Nick. The last couple shows that we've done together, we haven't done our Dr. Pepper toast. Are you not drinking Dr. Pepper anymore?
Dude, I'm kind of coming off the syrup, man.
Can you do you mind grabbing me one though? Even if you're not going to partake, I feel like if I don't have a Dr. Pepper, that I am not properly nourished.
We
And
can cheers though. I gotta come off the syrup, man. It was
I think the reason maybe why you did this is because we weren't able to get Dr. Pepper to sponsor us, right? And that's okay.
right. We're just holding out for the deal.
We made an effort. The effort was futile, and here we are. So if you know anybody that works for Dr. Pepper, help us out.
I'll be speaking to their marketing department.
Very nice. All right, let's get started, fellas. Let's do this because I know Frank, you got to go soon, right? Huh?
Krista's comment.
Yeah. My calendar schedule software did not catch a conflict for the first time, but it's okay because I have an email in, so we're gonna figure it all out.
I know a Dr. Pepper truck driver. Tell him to drop some off with us then. All right, let's get rolling, fellas.
Let's do it.
All right, so Kara Hubbard is our guest tonight. I'm going to read a bio about Kara before we bring her on, and then we're going to start talking about some really fun and good stuff. Kara is a business coach for photographers who specializes in email templates, workflows, business systems, and management. She has been in the professional photography business for over 15 years. She doesn't even look like she's old enough to do that, but we'll take her word for it, and has been coaching for the last 10. She has a team of professionals that work with her and her clients on pain points such as blogging, social media management, SEO optimization, pricing, and collection audits, marketing and client acquisitions, to name a few. This is our favorite part of the bio coming up. She lives on a small farmette outside of Denver, Colorado, with her husband, 4 kids, 30 chickens. Yes, you heard it right, Frank. 30 chickens, a peacock, and a handful of barn cats. All right. So what we're trying to say is Kara has a lot of kids in a small zoo, and it's a good thing she has a lot of kids to help out with that small zoo. So please help us welcome Mrs. Kara Hubbard. Hey, Kara, how are you?
Hey, guys, how are you?
Nice to see you tonight.
A farmette. I've never heard of a farmette.
It's like a mini farm, right? Like I live on 2 acres, not 200.
Right. So like this is a mini. This is like a farmette version of a Dr. Pepper.
A Dr. Pepperette,
right? This is a Dr. Pepperette.
Gotcha.
A pepper petite.
Yes, love it.
This is why you're in the marketing and I'm not. I love that.
There we go.
The pepper petite. I love it.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper is my go-to. I got it. Except not out of a can. It tastes weird out of a can.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of a tin taste to it, but we'll figure that out. Well, how the weather is absolutely shit here. How is it where you're at?
It is hot as hell here.
Yeah.
It is like 100 degrees and it's warm. And I'm in a sweater, so that makes a lot of sense.
There you go. Well, we all dress how we dress.
Yeah, well, you know.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, so tonight we are talking about the client experience.
Yes.
How do you go about giving every single client the white glove experience? Let's just dive right into that because that's interesting to me.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess first off, like I work a lot with photographers, so I know a lot of people in the wedding industry are kind of listening right now, but my main clientele is photographers. So I work a lot with them actually one-on-one, kind of building out their client experience. I would say that in general, it's very difficult for photographers to outsource things. They seem to have a trust issue when it comes to wanting to outsource and automate things, which obviously, and on the flip side, kind of negatively impacts the client experience. As a photographer, you generally get to a point in your business where you kind of get big enough that you can't do everything that you want to do for your clients all the time to continue to give them that hands-on white glove experience. And so you come up against a wall where what do you do if you're unwilling to automate and if you're unwilling to outsource because you simply can't manage everything? So I don't know. Do you guys kind of see that in your businesses at all?
You know, I think it's a very serious issue with, you know, anybody in our industry. You know, we talk about this a lot, and I know we talk about it on Clubhouse a lot too. You know, the fact that just so many people that get involved in our industry are so personally attached to whatever it is they do, whether it's video, whether it's photos, whether it's, you know, planning the event, DJing, baking a cake, like it just doesn't matter. Like everybody is so personally attached to that deliverable that, like you said, it's across the board. It's a challenge to let go of it. But Nick, you and I were having
we had this conversation
earlier today. And he was talking to me today about how, Busy Bee, what's up, man? Talking to me, we were talking today about how, he was able to track down some people to help him with editing video. And he's like, I almost felt like I unlocked like a cheat code in a video game or something like that, because it like opened up this whole new world, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you're I hate to say outsourcing, but when you have someone else doing the editing for you, and that takes time away from that gives you more time to do whatever you need to do to run the business. Like, you gain back that time. And on top of it, then you're getting 5-star reviews from the video that you never edited yourself. That feels like an absolute, like,
listen, I love a fired up Nick. I just gotta be honest. This is a fired up Nick right now. And I like this. I like this fire, man. I like the fire, man.
Yeah.
Keep it up, bro.
For sure. But no, it feels good. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. Agreed.
Totally. I actually I always use the example of Disney to my clients, because they are like the creme de la creme when it comes to client experience, right? Like, they are the people that have it figured out. They have automated stuff. They have outsourced things. People keep going back to them because of the magical feeling that they feel when they are at a Disney park, right? Thousands of theme parks exist all over the world, but yet somehow Disney always rises to the top. Why? Well, it's not because like their characters are necessarily any better. It's not because their rides are necessarily any better. It's because of the entire experience that they make you feel while you are at that theme park. And as I am telling that to my clients, that is the type of feeling that you want your clients to feel when you are interacting with them and when they are interacting with your business. So how can you go about doing those things? Now, automation and workflows, they can be terrible for your business, or they can be really positive for your business if you're doing them right and finding the right people to help support that growth and that development and that outsourcing, and that people that you can trust that are invested in your product and your business and your client.
That's a great point that you said, that they're also invested in you. There's nothing worse than someone who kind of just, half-asses something and says like, oh, I don't really care, I just want to get paid, versus someone who's like, man, I really want to put the effort into it.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, I mean, early on when kind of outsourcing was a thing or something like that, I remember I hired a couple people to try to help out with social media. And it was just one of those things where you start looking at it and you're like, well, honestly, what you're doing, I could just do myself.
Yeah.
And it makes it like frustrating and challenging for somebody who I genuinely would love to have somebody. Or here's another example, not that I would do it right now, because I really feel like Facebook marketing right now would probably be a big waste of money because of all the new things that are going on with security and all these other things. But when Facebook marketing was like really a thing, like I wanted to work with somebody who knew how to do Facebook marketing, but I kept coming across these people that knew all the right things to say, but had no real track record of success with it.
Yeah.
So it just becomes more of a challenge to really figure out like what is the right move to make in that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I think kind of coupled with that, a lot of the issues that I face is photographers really struggle with then selling that experience to their clients, because that all becomes a part of how you can raise your pricing, right? I mean, I know we're kind of getting off on a tangent here, but I mean that it's all coupled in a nice little neat package, right? If your experience is premium, Disney can charge $500 for a ticket. If you're Knott's Berry Farm, you can't do that. So on what end of the spectrum are you kind of wanting to come out as a service professional in the wedding industry? And something else, honestly, that I speak of quite frequently, like on my platform and everything, is that at least with photographers, something that often gets very lost in the shuffle is that they very much forget that we are a part of the service industry, like that we are there to serve our clients. And I work a lot with wedding photographers. So, weddings are a big deal, brides and grooms, all of that kind of thing. But because of that, it's almost, let me say it this way, they have almost become so obsessed with the art that the client has kind of lost focus.
I would agree with that 100%. And I see it a lot, like even like during shoots, there's certain shots that photographers want that we go like out of control to go try to grab them. I mean, videographers too. Like, oh, I want this shot for my portfolio, and I'm willing to kind of sacrifice what the client wants because I want this specific shot, and I'm taking away from what the client actually needs. So
seems a little narcissistic to me, but
100%. It's scary how often it happens. Sorry, Frank.
No, you're fine. And it's funny too, because that happens in the DJ world as well, right? You've got DJs who are willing to work with a client and help them curate their music for the day. But then you also have DJs who are not really necessarily, I guess, in the wedding industry, but when they get hired, it's, I am an artist and this is what you get if you hire me. I am an EDM DJ. I am a hip hop DJ, and of course, some of those couples hire those DJs with that in mind. But other people sometimes find a DJ that they like and they didn't realize that DJ was, this is how I deliver my product versus what wedding industry professionals need to be, which is, how do you want me to deliver my product? And it's a fine line that we have to walk as wedding professionals. And I couldn't imagine how challenging that is for photographers and cinematographers, because there is a true art behind what you all do. And you hope that you bring people in that are seeing that art, right, and want that version of, what you do. But then you also probably have to kind of adjust a little bit to what the client wants.
Well, there's also this tangible entity that exists, long after the event is over. Like from our standpoint, like once they leave the event, and I'm speaking, of course, it is you and me being a DJ, Frank. Like once they leave the event, there's either that memory of a fun time or not, but there's not that tangible, like a video or a group of photos that is a continual visual reminder of the experience.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to like piece that together. I think like there is an experience. I mean, I've definitely had a couple come back to me and say like, "Oh, you definitely made me feel a certain way during my day. Like I felt like comfortable being around you. Like I didn't feel like like awkward in front of the camera. Like you kind of put me at ease." I don't know if that's kind of like the similar type of
I think that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, you see it all the time, unfortunately, with the like we're gonna go spend 30 minutes to get this sunset shot that's like with the waters just right, and the couple wants to be like mingling with their friends and family at cocktail hour, and like, but we got to get this shot. Well, they don't want to do that, and like it's just crazy. All
right, let's circle back around because we definitely went on a tangent, which is good because I think that what we're talking about is important. And is something that people do need to hear, and people need to think about kind of, the old get in front of the mirror and say, hey, is this something that I'm doing that maybe I should put myself in check or not? You know what I mean? Big Earn says, I'd be worried for the day a client ever told someone that Nick made them feel Big Earn, man, he's going to clown all the time. I love that about him.
Dropping the one-liners.
But Kira, let's kind of go back to the beginning of my comment there. In your words and in the services that you provide, talk a little bit about what that white glove experience looks like, because it's easy to hear it and have your own interpretation of it. But what does that look like from your standpoint?
Yeah. So a way that I would say a majority of the time support photographers in providing that for their client is actually through kind of workflows and automating those workflows. So meaning, and when I talk about a workflow means a whole lot of different things in cinematography as it does in, photography. So I don't mean an editing workflow or a shooting workflow or anything like that. I'm specifically talking about a client management workflow. So in that aspect, I'm talking about the series of steps or emails or whatever contacts that you have put together to kind of walk your client through the experience that you want them to have with you or your business, through the extent and the term of the business, right? The duration. And so going back, a lot of the ways that I support photographers is actually kind of customizing those workflows and implementing those workflows into photographers' CRM. So the client relationship managers, so the Honeybooks, the 17 Hats, the Dubsados, the Taves, the whatevers, right? So a lot of the way that that works basically is I have a whole series of workflows that are sold in my shop, and then we take those as templates and then modify them. So I'm in the process of kind of building out some skyscraper information on my website, but I use the example that so photographers on average will shoot around 20 to 30 weddings a year. So let's just take the average of 25 weddings. And on average, say they're wanting to send out 35-ish points of contact throughout the duration of that 1 year or 18-month engagement, right? If you're having to spend even 5 minutes for 35 emails for 25 clients, that's like 75 hours of emails that you are literally writing every single year in just correspondence with your clients. That doesn't include the invoicing or the coffee dates or the phone calls or the responding to emails. And so all of that can be taken away and completely automated without the client ever knowing, really. And it does two things. One, it gives the client the illusion of a white glove experience because they know no difference. But then two, it allows you to invest time and energy in other parts of your business that you enjoy more or that garner you more money than writing an email does. And then three, it actually allows you to invest more time and more energy into developing the relationship at a higher standard and a higher level than just writing an email would. So does that kind of all make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we really we had Henry on
our last show.
On one of our last, was it our last show? Yeah, it was the last show. Yeah, we had Henry on with us, and we were talking about chat automation, and I think that we're in a society now where that is not like weird or something that people are like, oh, this is just a weird conversation. Like, I think people are used to that in a lot of different industries. And I almost think it's like, you don't even really have to hide from the fact that, this is a virtual assistant or, hey, this is so-and-so, like for me, like, this is David's virtual assistant stepping in to help out. And that process is something that can be automated. And there are, safety nets and things like that in place. And I'm sure the same scenario with yours where, where if a live person really needs to step in and get involved, then it happens very quickly, very fluently. And, the customer still continues along with that experience. But on the flip side of that, it helps you kind of navigate and weed out like tire kickers and price checkers and a lot of other situations where people are not really ready to buy. And we could do a whole show on the different steps and processes of the buying process and where people are in the buying process and everything alone.
No, and I want to just make a clarifying point there too, is that the workflows and emails and systems that I kind of set up are throughout the entire client experience. And so, for example, the wedding workflow in the shop is like 85 steps that a photographer is to walk their client through. So this is just kind of random touch points or, just check-ins. Because think about this, like a client is investing thousands of dollars into a photographer to bring them into their wedding. And generally up front, this is what'll happen. Someone will generally be like, after I give them the stats of how much time they're spending on emails every year, someone's like, well, I only send 3 to 5 emails anyways. That's not me. Then we have a much bigger problem on our plate. But if you're only sending 3 to 5 emails to your client that's paying you $5,000 to come photograph your wedding, this is a problem that we need to discuss then. Because think of the client from their point of view. They've just put down $3,000 or $4,000 to have you show up in 12 months from now. There's a little bit of back and forth at the beginning. They get some emails, 3 to 5 maybe in the first month or two, and then all of a sudden it's radio silence. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have had clients, not photographers, but like clients of photographers that have come forward and been like, we didn't even know if the wedding photographer was going to show up on the wedding day. Like we had no communication whatsoever. We'd get the deposit and 10 months would go by and we just fingers crossed hope that they would show up. Yeah. And that's not just weddings. I mean, that happens all the time with portraits. You'll put $500 down and you'll get no communication whatsoever with that photographer until, like, fingers crossed, hopefully they show up at that one little park that they said that they were going to on that Friday evening, because I just got my 4 kids ready and that was hell.
Yeah.
And so I am all about trying to educate photographers that it's really not fair to the client for them to be investing their hard-earned money with you and then you to drop the ball on not communicating, on not even just offering touch points, on not even just, you know, roll out the red carpet a little bit. It's really not that difficult, especially when the upfront investment is really very minimal, because it's just a little bit of money or a lot of time to implement it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Frank, I know you got to go soon, bud. So if you got to pop out, we understand. Hopefully you will be able to get back on time before we get done with the show. Come on back if you can. But make the sale. That's most important. Make that sale.
Fingers crossed for the sale. Let's go.
Hi, Frank.
All right.
Hi, it was nice to meet you. Have fun with the animals and the children.
I will wrangle them all.
Not particularly in that order, maybe though, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it's such a great point about, you know, this whole thought process about a touch point. Like, it could just be like a fun, quirky little, like, hey, just checking in to say hello. Hope you're having a great week. We're looking forward to seeing you. And, you know, and you could, like, just knowing the stuff that I have, like, you can input fields like looking forward to seeing you in 49 days or whatever it is between that email going to them and the date of their event, because
it lets you know that they're engaged. It lets them know that you're engaged, and it's like, oh wow, like, look, they care about me. I mean, and it's such a minimal investment, especially with an automation strategy.
100%. Like, you guys 100% get it. Like, it is all about, I will also say too that the secondary fear that I often get from photographers is that, like, oh, but what if I'm in a conversation with my client and that automated email goes out? Aren't I going to seem stupid? And I go back to kind of what you guys were saying a few minutes ago, in this day and age, automated emails are such a normal thing in society. And so in order to kind of hurdle that for people that are really, really worried about that, honestly, I just put a tagline at the bottom that this email was sent in automation. And that's it. Like, it's enough that it calms the fears of the photographer, but it's also enough that if the client received it on the back of, like, receiving a personalized email from the photographer, they're not going to really think like, oh my gosh, this person's an idiot. I just talked to them 2 hours ago. Like, why are they saying like, I haven't talked to you in 2 months?
Well, and to your point, like, I've had those situations happen to me before where, for example, if a client, you know, if I ask a client to set up an opportunity to schedule a meeting and then they do it, and then I have a sequence of an email that kind of goes to them before that meeting happens and things like that. So I've had that happen. And you know, as I was mentioning earlier, one of the things I really was helpful to combat that is that those emails don't come from me. Those emails come from my assistant, whether it's, you know, somebody that I, you know, Susie, my assistant, or, you know, whatever the assistant's name is. Like, it could be John, it could be anything. But those emails are coming from that. And it allows you to kind of have a little scapegoat. Yeah, it gives you a little buffer between that possibly happening.
Buffer. Yep.
Yeah. No, I 100% understand that. I actually was a business manager for a fairly big wedding photographer out in Orange County for a couple of years. And I was always such a good scapegoat as like, oh, that was just Kara, my business manager. Oh, that was just Kara, my business manager, even though I had nothing to do with it, because it was just like someone else to throw under the bus that wasn't the photographer. And so it kind of saved their butt a bit.
Well, and I think as long as you're, I do think that, and I'm curious about your opinion on this as well. I do think that you kind of have to be aware a little bit about what the context of the email is, because you don't want to send an email that was designed in a way to feel personal and to be personal, and then at the bottom of it say this email was sent in automation.
Right.
But if it's an email that, like you said before, is kind of more of just a touch point, more of just kind of of maybe an informational email or a requesting information email or something along those lines, then then I think it's okay. I just think that you're kind of riding both sides of the fence sometimes if you send if you're saying that you want to send a personalized email to them, but then at the bottom of the email, you're saying that it's an automated email.
For sure. So let me say, as I go through and so I support photographers in a number of different areas. One, you could just go to my shop and purchase a workflow, take it and download it and put it into your CRM however you so wanted. Or I can modify and customize that workflow for you. I can also implement that workflow for you. So there's lots of different areas that I can kind of support that in your business journey. There are also different techniques that you can utilize if you are worried because you want to get a little bit more personalized throughout your journey and you don't want everything to just be kicking off automatically throughout the entire system, right? You guys know, I'm sure, work in CRMs as much as I know, that all you need to do is like have that be a paused email so that you go in and modify it every single time that specific email goes out. So maybe there's one that's like a little bit more personal or a little bit more customized every once in a while that does get kicked out throughout the series of all the rest of this automation. But if you can offload 80 or 90% of that to workflows and automations, or if you have even that template filled out where it's 80% filled out and you're just plugging in little details to it, again, massive time savers for you.
Yeah, I would even say like templates would save like almost like 95% of the time of having to like type out like a personalized message and think about it and what am I going to say? And it's like, dude, if I just have to change a few little, things here and there, I mean, that's a huge time save for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and along the lines of like the the chat automation stuff and the things that we were talking about with Henry, like one of the big thought processes that really makes sense to me is like, just like take a moment to sit down one day and just think about what are the things that you keep saying over and over and over and over and over, because we're always getting new clients.
Yep.
Yeah, we have some level of repeat clients in our industry, but for the most part, we're always getting new clients. Every year, there's a new group of people getting married, especially if you're heavy in the wedding industry. There's constantly people getting married every year, right? So what are those conversations that you're just having over and over and over again? That's the first place to really look at this automation concept of how much of that can I automate so that I can get people through that process. And then everybody that gets through that process and still wants to talk to me, boom.
There we go.
These are these hot leads. These are these warm leads that I really want to deal with.
No, I think that's an excellent point. And that's actually how I teach people to, if you're wanting to create your own workflow, that's the very first step, is actually sitting down with a piece of paper and being like, what are the things that have to happen in that client experience? Like the things that are a non-negotiable, what are the touch points that have to go out? So you start there and you start with your really rough outline and skeleton. And then after that is when we sit down and really brainstorm the really cool creative stuff. Are you wanting to send flowers to that person on their 1-year anniversary? Are you wanting an email touch point to go out 2 years later and say like, hey, would you guys like an anniversary shoot? Are you wanting a 90-day pre-wedding check-in to happen? The second component to this is like with photographers, we have lots of different pricing mechanisms that we can do. So, are we trying to do more of an a la carte pricing system? And so we're building in different brochures to kind of go out throughout the entire series in relationship with that client. And so having this all automated or even semi-automated is just an absolute game changer to you building, scaling, growing your business, but also supporting your clients and giving them that hands-on, hands-off white glove experience, but then in turn allows you to raise your prices, which is ultimately what everyone wants to do.
Yeah. How much pushback do you get on the idea of the post-event stuff? Like the 1-year anniversary or the 2-year? I'm just thinking like, I know there's bound to be somebody, if not watching and listening, or there's bound to be somebody that the first thing they're going to say is, well, what if they don't make it to that time frame,
Yeah. I have never had pushback on it yet. So I don't know whether or not my clients haven't come back to me and had their first, major road bump with a couple that's like or
Look. I knew somebody was thinking it. It's sadly it's the society that we live in. You know what I mean? It's the day and age that we live in.
For sure. I think on that note, though, that I go back to the same thing that people say, or that you guys were talking about, like how, well, what if that email goes out and I was just talking to them? Like, I don't want them to know. It's the same thing. Like, clearly, like, this photographer may not be so invested in your life story that like that email is just going to be so, life altering to them that they would, be so very offended by it. I would personally think, I guess, but what do I know?
No, I think that's fair. Look at Ern. I've done divorce parties and married couples.
Wow. That's wild.
No, I mean, I think it's fair that there is a level of like them looking at it and saying, hey, there's no way they probably would have known this.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
What do you think some of the things that people overlook the most that you could help with when it comes to this automation stuff and workflows? Like, what are some of the things that you just see in your conversation with your clients that are overlooked a lot that would really be helpful for people to think about?
So one of the biggest things that I would say that is the hugest change for photographers is actually having this inquiry workflow process that happens, so that automated series that kicks out as soon as someone inquires about your services. The biggest kind of reaction that I get is that I have this email series of 3 to 5 emails that go out. And the very last email in this email series, and this is the one that's free on my website that you can like go and download. But the very last email is basically like, see you later, have a nice life, like, see you've gone a different direction, like, you're gone, in mostly nice and polite terms.
Yeah.
But the amount of clients that I have had implement that series and come back to me and say, oh my gosh, that email went out and I booked the client the next day, like, has been phenomenal. And so, in fact, I just had one last week that emailed and booked her biggest package off of a client that had received that email. And so, I mean, this is going to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent, but I mean, there are strategists and marketers and coaches and influencers out there teaching, especially photographers, all about this ideal client, and how if an ideal client inquires about your services and you respond via email or phone or text or whatever, they teach photographers that if that client doesn't respond to you, you are to turn around and walk away. They are clearly not your ideal client. If they didn't respond and kick back almost immediately and initiate the conversation, that don't even waste your time. They are not your ideal client.
Bad advice.
And have you guys heard this before? Is this like something that...
A little bit. Yeah.
I feel like that's horrible advice.
Right.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah.
I like, every time I get a client that has heard something like this, I almost drop to the floor, because I am, first of all, not a proponent of that theory or whatever. Like, that's just asinine to me, first of all. Second of all, people are freaking busy in this day and age. So to walk away.
Well, and I alluded to it earlier about the buyer's journey. And I probably kind of maybe would have thought that what you were just describing would have made a little bit more sense to me before I dove into and was really exposed to this whole thought process of a buyer's journey and where they are in that journey. And so that is going to supersede what was just said all the time, every time, no matter what, because the converse of it could be the same thing. Somebody that's not your ideal client might be in the part of their journey where they need something, what you offer. Yeah. And you said yes, you answered the phone, you gave them a price they liked, and they went for it because they were in the position of that journey where they needed to. And it wasn't an issue of whether you were the ideal person for them or not. Right.
You just interluded to my perfect statement that I say all the time, is that your ideal client is anyone willing to pay you money for the services that you offer? 100%.
Exactly.
That is your ideal client.
I love
it
that.
It has nothing to do with you being a light and airy photographer and that person having $10,000 to throw at you. It literally like is where you are in your business journey, where they are in their buying journey. And if you guys are able to match up, so to only give that person or any person one chance to accept that offer is completely unreasonable.
I just don't think that's, I agree. That's how, and I just don't think that's like how businesses are run, like on just like, oh, like I'll see you when I see, like, oh yeah, if you don't answer me the first time, you know, like it never made sense to me either. And I heard that from somewhere, I don't remember where, and I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of ridiculous. Like it doesn't sound to me how like a business should be run.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
I think, Chris just, I'm gonna put this comment up, but obviously it's a really, really long Succeed Nice Guys Small Business. I think, Succeed Nice Guys Small Business is the name of the book. So Chris suggested that might be a good book to check out. But I think I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right. I mean, I think sometimes people get caught up in some of these things that gurus and influencers or whatever tell them, and
it almost goes, just sorry to interrupt.
No,
it goes almost back to that artist mentality versus the
yes.
business mentality, where it's like, oh, like I'm only going to find like the right people who match my personality and, like you said, like my style. It's like, dude, like that's not how businesses run. Like, is Amazon caring about like your personality and the product you want to purchase? Like, come on now. Like
oh, here we go.
Successful businesses do not care about that kind of stuff.
So here's the title, actually: Why SOBs Succeed and Nice Guys Fail in Small Business. Huh, interesting. But well, hopefully it's telling the same thing along the lines of what we're saying. If not, well, whatever. No, you're right. I think that it's just, and we are kind of off on a tangent here, but that's okay, because I think we're talking about some valuable stuff right now. I think it also is this whole thought process about worth and value, and my time is worth X and my value is Y, and kind of at the end of the day, no, you're pretty much worth what somebody's willing to pay you.
That's 100%.
That's the truest.
Sorry,
that's the truest thing I've ever heard.
Like, sorry, you can live in some fucking you can live in some unicorn world that where
cat's out of the bag.
Folks. You can live in some unicorn world where you think that you're worth $1 million or whatever, but unless you can find somebody to pay you that,
right? Like this whole thing about like, oh, like I'm only going out for I've seen videographers that's ridiculous. Like they're like, I'm only going out for 20 grand. I'm like, have fun working like maybe a couple times a year. I guess I don't know,
but Same thing though. I won't knock a person that is able to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they're able to make that work, love you for it.
Yeah.
That means that you found
100%.
4 people that thought you were worth $20,000.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
But majority of the people are not going to think that.
Well, I think the problem is that it just doesn't work for a majority of the people, right? Like you have the creme de la creme sitting at the top where that works for. But the problem is that if you sit at the top and you spout down the information to all the rest of the peons below, or all the rest of the people that are trying to climb the ladder, it doesn't work for those people. At some point, they have to pay the bills. At some point, you have to make money. You have to pay rent. And so to sit there and say, like, I am worth $10,000. I've only had 1.5 years of experience shooting or in the wedding industry, period. But I want to make $10,000. And so therefore I feel that my worth is $10,000 and that's what I'm going to market myself for. Well, then it doesn't really work that way, right? Like it's just, it's not business. And I mean, this is kind of getting in a whole secondary tangent here, is that photographers are kind of one of the only industries, or especially in the wedding industry, where people tend to kind of just fall into it. Like someone is given a camera or gifted a camera or picks up some camera after they start having kids, and they're all self-taught, right? Or they've taken some online course.
I think that can be said about every wedding professional service provider, truthfully. Photographer, cinematographer, DJ, planner. I think that exact statement can be said about all of them. But I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No. so obviously I don't have experience in a lot of these other different like realms and niches. But what I see a lot happen in photography is that it just kind of evolves and happens. And all of a sudden, unlike wedding planning, they just somehow have acquired a camera at some point in time. Some family member was like, oh, that's a really good picture. And it clicks that like, I could make money off of this. And so then the business starts evolving. The problem is that the camera's evolving, not the business. Like they very rarely want to invest in the business part of it, especially at the beginning. And I imagine it's the same with like cinematographers and DJs because your equipment is expensive. And so you guys are heavily investing in that type of stuff where you'd actually do better to slowly invest in that type of stuff and invest more heavily in the business.
I think we lost you for a second, but yeah, I mean, got the gist of what you said.
You pretty much just knocked it out of the park for me, at least. I mean, and the funniest thing about all, Dave and I talk about this a lot. It's like the customer is not going to care or know the difference between the 2020 model camera and the 2019 model camera. But
yeah,
I don't know what it is about that. I'm not really sure. Maybe you could explain it better than I can. But I've had the same cameras since I've first started shooting, and I've never had a complaint from anyone about the quality of the work. I think it's all very psychological. I think it's planted in the heads of these people, the photographers and cinematographers, by the companies that want to sell you the camera to make more, like Sony, to make more money on the camera, saying it's better in this and way. Yeah. And if you don't have it, you know, you're already behind. I don't believe that to be true in any capacity.
Well, and if you think about it from the standpoint of electronics, I mean, you know, they've moved into this, like you take the iPhone or you take any piece of electronics, and it's moved into this like hyper business model of they're really only making these things to last for a very short period of time, because the reality is if they don't, you know, first of all, people are not investing the kind of money in electronics that they used to. Like even take like refrigerators and ovens and shit like that. Like people are not investing the same amount of money that they used to, and companies are not building them. Like it's unheard of that you could buy even, you know, like, well, I think you could with Mac, but I don't know about PC. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. But like, I don't even think you could buy a laptop that would last 10 years, let alone 5 years anymore. They're not made that way anymore. You know what I mean? Because if they were, these people would never make any money. Right. So,
for sure.
So to your point, like they are definitely, I knew Chris Dis was going to give me a hard time. Like they definitely are, marketing this mindset of you need this new thing because it has this one widget, this one different color, this one different feature that last year's model didn't have, but it's going to make you that much better of a fill in the blank, whatever you are. But in all actuality, it's not even really necessary, you know? And if the people that are successful in our industry are the people that understand that.
That's the absolute truth.
Truthfully.
100%. And Kara, maybe you can like expound on this a little bit more. I feel like you'd be way better off, you know, spending that money in marketing. You know, you got $4,000, right? You know, what's better, $4,000 in marketing or $4,000 on the new camera, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I am all for marketing. I am all for like educating yourself on how to run your business. Like that is 100% like where you need to be putting your time and money, like at the very beginning. Like if this truly is something that you are, you know, wanting to do, whether you want to be your wedding planner or cinematographer or DJ or photographer or whatever it is, like once that fire has been lit in your belly and you understand that this is the road and path that you want to start to explore, investing $10,000-$15,000 in equipment, it's going to take you a very short distance, right? But it's not going to take you the whole lap. The whole lap is going to be if you're investing in your business at some, and not just in your business, but how to run your business. Like I can't even tell you the amount of photographers that I encounter that have been in business for 5 years and they're still not even true businesses. They've never applied for their business license. They're not even paying taxes. Like they're just out there doing it. And so the ineducation of some of this is a real problem, I think, in this industry.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like people have asked me, like, what do you think is the biggest mistake you've made in business? And I'm more than happy to tell people that I think the biggest mistake I ever made in business was when I first started my DJ company. I went to somebody who was light years beyond me, somebody who was actually like sponsored by certain manufacturers who got equipment for free. Yeah. And I was like, what equipment should I buy? And of course, at his level, he gave me the top end, highest, best, greatest, and me not knowing any better, I'm like, all right, well, that must be what I need to get. So let me go out and get it.
Right.
And so the only option I had at this point in time in my life, I'll just be very transparent, was I borrowed the money from my parents, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, it was like money that I was able to borrow that I wasn't really paying any interest on. But imagine if I was, because it probably took me about almost 4 years to pay them that money back.
Wow.
It took me almost, that is a horrible, I'm trying not to cuss tonight. That is a horrible investment.
Yeah.
A 4-year loan to pay back is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it completely dawned on me immediately, like, it makes a lot more sense for me to invest. Like, imagine if I would have taken the money that I got from them and I would have spent the minimum amount of money on gear that I needed to be professional and do a job. Maybe it wasn't the greatest top of the line, but it allowed me to do the job. And then I invested money on how to get 25 clients as quickly as possible. Imagine how much faster I would have been able to pay that money back.
Yeah.
And I would have also probably made enough money to slowly replace some of the mediocre things that I purchased initially with some maybe more advanced, nicer things, because at that point also my skill level would increase as well, which would make sense to maybe use a better version of some of the pieces of equipment. Right.
Yeah.
But what sense does it make to spend $10,000 on equipment that sits in your fucking closet?
Yes. You pretty much just whacked on the head. And what percent of the clientele is going to really tell a difference in the sound quality? Like, how much different is the sound quality going to really be from the system that you're using that's top of the line, that's absolutely incredible, versus something that's maybe like a little bit? Is the client really going to know? No, they're investing in you, the experience, how you make them feel. That stuff is way, way, way more important. I learned that too, man, for sure.
Well, you know what really drove the point that you're making home to me right now was an experience where I was doing an event where we got through dinner, and like it was almost like a movie type situation. Like, literally, as I'm going to announce we're opening up the dance floor, the power goes out.
Oh.
Now, the power doesn't just go out in the building that I'm in. The power goes out in like a 10-mile radius around.
Wow.
One of those, like, yo, the power's not coming back on kind of deal anytime soon. Okay. So I could have had pick your favorite top of the line gear with me, whatever you wanted it to be. And I know somebody's going to say, why didn't you have a generator? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's pretend like I did not have a generator, because I didn't. Okay. At that time, it's like, well, what do you do now? Right? If you, let's say you don't have a generator, okay? Because a lot of people are not just carrying generators around with them. I know Big Earn has one on his. So if he's still watching, I know he has one on his RV, so he'll probably tell me I should have one. But the point is, I'm in a position now where I have no power whatsoever. Can't play music, can't use mics. See, I knew he would say that, right? What do I do? So I was able to create an experience that didn't require me to have any of that stuff. People still had a fun time. People still enjoyed themselves, and they didn't go home like 2 hours early.
Right.
The party didn't end 2 hours early.
Right.
And I attribute that to the fact that I invested time in learning how to say, what do you do if something like this happens?
Yeah.
You know, and that is a business minded thing. That's not an equipment minded thing.
Yeah.
That's not that's a, business / performance mind of, what do you do if all of the toys and trinkets in the world that you have goes to shit and you don't have them anymore?
And it just goes to show you how you can still create that experience with like literally the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
So in those like kind of extreme circumstances, but yeah, no, I think that was the biggest thing for me too. And I would tell that to anyone else, like getting started as well. Like, what's the biggest thing? It's like the equipment, and like, do not put yourself in any form of debt to be able to like try to get this top of the line equipment and stuff like that. And especially in the photo world, like, dude, the cameras change probably every like year or two. Honestly, it's probably like every 2 years there's a new camera coming out, and it promises this, and this. I promise the client, like, it's not that incremental of a difference to where it's like, wow, that's yeah. And if you're not selling yourself as equipment driven, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
of course, this is probably another whole show we could talk about, but if your marketing plan doesn't involve like, we use this and we use that and we use this and we use that and we use this and we run everything through the NSA to make sure that nobody's in there that shouldn't be in there, and like all these crazy weird, like, who cares?
We use 14K cameras.
Yeah. So I think a lot of those things can really help.
And honestly, the best thing about the photography, and I'm sure cinematography is probably very similar, is that like, in 2021, we just had the mirrorless camera come out. That's all the rage. And like all these people are like upgrading to, I mean, before that, it was Canon's Mark, whatever, 4 or something like that. That was like all the PS4, guess what? Yeah. Now all these big professionals are selling their Mark IVs and getting the mirrorless. Is a great time to go buy the Mark IV, which was the exact camera that the professional was using 2 months ago and had no problem with.
Right.
Such a good point.
That's crazy.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
Such a good point. Man, what a great conversation this is.
Yeah, it is good. I love seeing people with like that make the older cameras work. It's awesome. Like I plan on keeping mine for at least like another at least 5 years. Like I mean, it's the technology doesn't change that fast. Like as fast as they'd like you to believe. It doesn't change as fast as they'd like you to the companies would like you to believe. I think Chris Diss even had a comment. He's like, planned obsolescence. Like, absolutely, because that's how they make money.
Yeah.
But no, learn about the business for sure. Like, have a workflow, get that set up. That's the most important thing. Like, I mean, that is literally the most important thing. Like we talked about for sustainability. Like, if you want to do this as a hobby, yeah, sure, go buy the latest stuff and don't register your business and all that stuff. But yeah,
but also understand what that activity and what that does to the industry as a whole, because you're not doing you're not doing the industry a favor.
No, you're certainly
by
not.
Treating it as a hobby, because there are people out there that do want this to be their career or are working really hard. They're not just, it's not people just want shit handed to them. Like, people are working to build a career in this industry.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's a full-time career. For some people, that's like a full part-time career.
Yeah.
So there's, I've said it a million times. I'll never stop saying it. And that's the cool thing about opinions is we all have one and you don't have to agree with it. But like, to me, there is a mutual responsibility to yourself and your goals, but also to the industry that you're a part of. Because again, there are people, there are people in there that are working their asses off to take care of their families and to support their livelihoods, and coming in there and not having the same equal respect for the industry at whatever capacity you're doing it is just not the right way to be.
Definitely not.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I could talk for hours about how like breaking into the industry and lowly pricing yourself and how all of that kind of affects everything and what the proper way to kind of break into the industry kind of is. But something that we haven't really discussed or even talked about is like the importance for the client experience for actually garnering you more clients on the back end.
Yes.
Because
go for that.
The client that's the thing that they will remember. 100%. They are going to remember how you ultimately made them feel throughout the entire process. Yeah. And so even if you're handing them a beautiful video, or if you're handing them a beautiful album or pictures, or had a great like night on the dance floor or whatever, like all of that is going to encompass with like also your interaction with them and how many kind of like beautiful touch points or sweet moments you had with them, or how many times you de-escalated their stress level when planning a wedding, or how many times you were able to be the person that they were able to fall back on or help them out or support or assist them. Because 2 or 6 or 5 or what are 2, 6, 5 months later down the line, when maid of honor is like, oh, I'm engaged, who should I use for XYZ? You want your name to be the first one that pops into her mind or his mind or their mind or whoever it is.
I gotta say something real quick. So to that point, it's all about how you feel. So when I was going back through, I was like kind of taking an audit on my reviews and kind of like looking through what couples are saying. And the one thing that stuck out to me the most that Kara absolutely just nailed was had nothing to do with the quality of the video. They liked the video. They thought it was great. The entire review, and these are, I mean, long reviews, all about how I made them feel. Nick made me feel comfortable. I loved working with him. He made my family feel great. We loved the video, but outstanding quality. Like, of course, obviously, like that's like, it's not like, oh my God, the video quality was just so good. Like,
it was crap, but he was a nice person.
He must have used 17K cameras. I have no doubt that he did.
Yeah,
and they were reverse mirrorless with the MK47, and then the micro.
I could just tell the audio quality he was using was the Shure SM7B mic. No, it
had to have been.
No, it's so crazy that you mentioned that, because I think as someone who's coming into the industry at first, you want to believe that the quality of your work is what's going to separate you. But at the end of the day, it's like a
100%.
client. Yeah.
100%. That is that is the home run right there. Yeah. It is very difficult in this day and age to differentiate yourself solely on your work. Like, it's all starting to look very similar. Granted, you're kind of niched out doing your own little thing, but I mean, you still got a whole group of light and airy photographers. You still got a whole group of moody photographers. You still got a whole group of vintage photographers. And within that realm, and within the realm of your little niche, whatever that is, whether you're DJing or, you know, videoing or planning or whatever it is, client experience is the one and only, possibly the only thing that is going to set yourself apart from everybody else in that bubble.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, honestly, that's the one thing I would tell my past self, like my younger self, would be that is focus on the entire client experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Somebody was asking me a question about the show. No, absolutely. I think I agree 100%. And the way that you make people, there's a quote that people use all the time by Maya Angelou, like paraphrasing obviously, but it's not what you said, it's not what you did, but it's how you made them feel that they will remember. And I think that is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I too am glad you brought that up, because I think that that is cracking the code. We're kind of on this kick about cheat codes and cracking the codes and so on and so forth. And I think that is definitely cracking the code to be able to create that experience that people will want to tell other people. Because you're right. I mean, think about how embarrassing would it be for you to have, like, I just think about, to me, I would be embarrassed as shit if I just felt like I hit it out of the park at an event, but I didn't create enough relationship with the client that, like, 2 months down the road or 3 months down the road, when somebody says, "Oh, hey, who was the DJ that was at your wedding? They were awesome," and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. Let me look it up. I can't remember what his name was."
Or
right,
or so a part of it is always like, asking for reviews at the end. Like, I always try to ask for reviews where you haven't built enough of a relationship with that client to even feel like you've deserved to go ask for that
review.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Bringing it back full circle though to this whole thing about workflow automation and all that stuff, I think what the lead that should not get buried in all of this is that I think we're all in agreement, and we're all kind of saying that when you're an independent business owner, and a lot of times most people in our industry are a one person, or maybe if they're lucky, a 2-person operation, and to wear all of these different hats, the sales team, the marketing team, the product development team, the client management team, the accounts receivable, the accounts payable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you wear all of those hats, the necessity to have this concept of automation and workflows becomes so much more valuable, because we're not octopuses. We can't do 8 different things really, really well all at one time. Something is going to fall short, and this is what helps in that process. And I think that is kind of the lead that shouldn't get buried in this whole conversation of what we're having tonight.
No, I completely agree. And yet it seems to be the area where people seem almost the least likely to invest in their business in. where they think that they've kind of figured it out, or they think that their half-assed approach of sending out 5 touch points is doing it for them. And unfortunately, then, things start to fall apart. Not only that they not start falling apart. So don't say that. Let me say that things may just go along steadily for you. But the problem is that the people that figure it out, they're investing. And so they're starting to rise to the top, and they're starting to become the cream. And so then if you just keep plugging along, kind of doing your half-assed thing, and all these other people are investing, that's when you're going to start to see problems then down the line.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, when we talk about the fact that there's really, well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, in any one of those categories, you can tell the difference between really shitty work and really, really great work. But where you can't tell the difference a lot of times is great work and good work. Great work and good work. Like Robin Thicke really knew what he was talking about when he said that the lines are getting blurred. And you mentioned that earlier as well, Kara. Like really, those lines are probably blurred more than ever because we also have a client now that is in such a hurry that they would rather get their need of having to have somebody satisfied quicker than taking the time to really look at the difference between good and great. Good and great look a lot alike nowadays.
Right.
Great and horrible look really different, but good and great look a lot alike. Sorry, Kara.
Oh no, I think you made an excellent point. And I think when it comes to probably cinematographers, and I mean probably all of us, or honestly probably everybody, but like especially when it comes to imagery, it's really easy for an okay photographer to go to a session and get 1 or 2 kick-ass images. It's still okay. Like they can still do that. And so to come home and curate that work and put that out to the public, if the public doesn't really know some of the strategies of like asking for a full wedding or asking for a full session, and they're only seeing these very curated images or videos or whatever it is that you're doing, then everything looks great. Everything looks great. But then it becomes a problem because then the people that are actually producing 100% great work 100% of the time, 100% of the images and weddings and sessions, they then have to up it another level. Like, how do they differentiate themselves from the people that are just good curating the great stuff out of it?
Yeah.
Right. I could agree with that completely because I mean, just as someone who is in that, cinematography, photography realm,
great point, Renee. Great point.
Oof, yes.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I know for a fact, like I am going to get some sort of incredible looking image at some point of the night.
Yeah.
Just simply by just being there. So I can
totally showed up.
Right. Yeah. But to understand, like, how do I do it all the time? How do I get the lighting perfect every single time? How am I delivering incredible videos, consistently every time? Yeah, there's a lot of facades out there for sure. I could totally see it. Yeah.
Well, I think in all of this conversation, it reminds me of one of the guys who works on my staff, and we'll have staff meetings all the time, and we'll have this part where we all kind of ask each other just different questions about what's going on. And one of the biggest questions was asked of one of our guys who notoriously always gets tips. He always, I don't mean sometimes, I don't mean most of the time, I mean if he goes out and works, he gets a tip.
Do we say who it is?
No. But
where's the story going?
The number one question that's asked of him is, how do you do that? How do you earn those tips all the time? And his answer, and this is why I'm saying this, his answer is, I earn the tip before I even do the job. And that's the point of what I'm saying in all of what I'm saying, right?
Gotcha.
That's the point of what I'm saying in all of what I'm saying, is his answer is exactly what we're saying here, is having this process in place and creating this experience for your client before they even experience the reason why they hired you in the first place. This is how that happens. This is how that secret sauce, this is how that code is cracked. This is how that cheat code is implemented into the game, however you want to say it, is by making this experience happen before the big day even happens.
Yeah.
Right. And it continues after.
Yeah. It continues after. And also you can like you said, you create that before. Like the best feeling for me is when I get to show up to an event and it's like I already know the couple. Like it's not, this is not the first time like we're meeting. That is like literally the best feeling when you're like, we're already at a point where it's like we're super comfortable with each other. Like we've met, like it's, and like we just flow, and you've already kind of feel like you're a part of them. And it just it makes the day so much better.
How much easier, like, and how much easier is it for you to work in that environment, right? Like it's not stilted. It's like totally a friendly, it's like you're just hanging out, totally.
Yeah.
And then your work is better too, because like you're in a relationship with the couple.
Yep. It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Yeah. No, it all kind of wraps together in a nice little tidy bow of like, there is absolutely no reason not to be investing in your client relationship in some sort of manner, and in automation and workflows and all of that kind of stuff. And obviously I work directly with photographers, but a lot of this transitions over to every single professional in the wedding industry. I mean, like all of you guys are dealing with the exact same situation where you have clients coming to you, they want a service from you. And then what does that relationship look like during that inquiry process? What does the relationship look like post inquiry in the booking process? What does that look like in the pre-session and in the post session and in the post gallery delivery, or the post whatever it is delivery, and in the follow-up years later, right? You know, we talked about kind of following up a year or 2 or 3 later and like divorce and things like that. But the problem is, or not the problem, but one of the things that I encourage photographers, or the reasons I continue to encourage them to do that, is because all of those bridesmaids and groomsmen, they're generally coming down the pipe at some point after them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you want to stay in the forefront of that couple's mind. And so a year or 2 or 3, you know, a quick email to drop in and say happy anniversary is a pretty simple thing to do, especially if it's automated.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And it's also a great feeling when you get it like, hey, I got your information from so-and-so.
Yeah.
They loved working with you, would love to get your information as well. And I actually just booked a wedding on that recently. That
me too.
Also an amazing feeling.
Sure.
Fantastic feeling.
No, I actually had a lady just the other day. I wish I could pull the email up fast enough to show you, but literally she wanted to have a phone consult with me, and I explained to her that I have a pretty busy week this week, but I would love to try to fit a consult in with her if I can, because I'm going to Chicago on this coming Monday, and I'm going to be there all week, and I'll be at a conference. So really trying to find time to talk and all of that's going to be challenging. And she said to me, 4 people have told me to hire you. Yeah. So just go ahead and send me a contract, and we'll talk when you get back from Chicago. That's friggin' awesome. Yeah. Now, I wish that happened every conversation. It doesn't happen every conversation, but I sure as hell wish it happened every conversation. But that's what you're striving to get to. Exactly. And that's what you're striving to accomplish. And that's what, like, all this long-term investment of these types of things, that's the payoff when that happens. Yes. And I know I love that Renee's here, and I hope Renee's still watching in the audience, because her and Mark, they're awesome at a lot of this stuff as well, in this client relationship, in this client conversation. We talk on Clubhouse about it a lot, and one of the things I bring up in Clubhouse all the time is this lifetime value of a client. And I think it's important for us to understand, because and I even said it earlier, like, you know, a wedding client, we don't always think about them as a repeat client, but there's a difference between a repeat client and the lifetime value of that client. Okay. Because just because a couple maybe doesn't hire you again, it doesn't mean, like Kara just said, it doesn't mean that they don't have 7 bridesmaids and 4 groomsmen in their wedding party who aren't married yet. And if they're the direct referral source to those people, then that is something that you have to attribute to that value of that couple and that client. You know what I'm saying?
You touched on something so huge there, because as a part of the workflows that I have built out and that are in the shop and that I help people with, is that adding that referral like request, or that referral reward system into it that pops out after the gallery's been delivered. Like, that's huge. I set that up for people all the time. And I would say, by and large, most people do not have some referral like reward system that happens. And not that you should be bribing people to tell other people your name or to refer you. However, it's just that extra incentive or that extra thank you that kind of gets kicked back to somebody when that happens.
But it's also an accepted practice in other industries as well. So it's not like this super weird, like, oh, this is not happening anywhere else kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that our industry, a lot of times in our industry, we self-sabotage ourselves because we're like, oh, what are people going to think about it?
Yeah.
But it's like, if you really wonder what people are going to think about it, go look at how other industries do it and see how it's received. And if it's received well in those other industries, it's sure as shit probably going to be received well in our industry as well.
And not only that, put yourself in the client's shoes. What would you want? Like, how would you want that to be handled with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Kara, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you do and how you can help them?
Yeah, I mean, I actually offer free consultations because I love chatting business and I love chatting with photographers. And quite honestly, I probably could like filter out into other industries. But right now, my main focus is photographers because that's my jam.
Awesome.
But they can head over to my website and schedule a consult. And there's a bunch of free resources and downloads, and there's a huge shop there that has tons of workflows and contracts and all sorts of things to kind of like support the business growth and development for photographers.
I love that. And that's is it Tography? Am I saying that right? Tography.com.
It is.
Right?
It is Tography, Tograf with an F, not PHY, because PHY was trademarked. So I had to go with the FY.
There you go. There you go. And Renee's still checking in, which is great. Yeah, that's exactly what we were saying. The last two steps of the customer journey are definitely overlooked: retention and advocacy. I'm telling you all, if you're watching the show right now, or if you listen to the replay or watch the replay, just go on Google and just type in customer journey. And I'm telling you, this shit will change your mind. And it's super wild. I love it. Absolutely. You know what? Why don't we, since is Big Earn comment if you're still there? I hope he's still there. If he's still there, we're going to do this. Yeah, if he's still there, I think we're going to do it. Kara, thank you so much. He is there. So since he's there, let's pod deck. Let's pod deck. Since Big Earn's here, let's pod deck. We haven't done it in a while. All right, Kara, we're going to have some fun with you right now. We're kind of putting you on the spot here a little bit.
God.
All right,
it's fun.
It's actually is fun. And we do want the involvement of our audience. That's one of the reasons why I asked if Ern was here, because he always has fun with us on here. So Poddex. So this is one of our sponsors, and if you guys are not familiar with Poddex, it is a really, really cool way to have. For example, if you want to start your own podcast, and you're not sure what to talk about, they have these. So we have the app. The app is available on your phone, but when it first came out, it was actually like decks of cards, and there are conversation starters, questions to ask. Some of them are funny, some of them are serious, some of them are all different types of things. And Travis, the gentleman who started it, is just a phenomenal guy. He's huge in the podcast world. And he's kind of like you, Kara. Like, he's one of those people that, like, you love to talk business. Like, he loves to talk podcasts, and he will just talk to people for
we
hours.
Should chat, because I'm on the verge of launching my podcast, but like, good God, it's like a new realm for me.
Yes, absolutely. So this is bound to help you. So we're just going to have some fun. We're going to ask you some questions. We're going to kind of ping pong back and forth with our questions. Of course, the audience that's the live audience that's listening right now can chime in the comments with their answers as well. What deck you going to?
I went to the hypothetical question deck.
All right, let's do it.
I like it. Okay.
I like it. So Kara, we'll ask you the questions, and you're welcome to answer. Big Earn, obviously, if you've been watching and listening to my mouth at this point, we're all in. So
we're way past PG-13. We are way.
We absolutely are. We absolutely are. You got yours ready?
Yeah, I got a super pertinent question here.
Okay, here we go.
If you worked in the entertainment industry and had a pseudonym, what would your alias be?
Oh, good God.
Ooh,
that's fair.
Ooh, all right. Chris Disc, anything you want. All right, say the question again. I feel like sometimes when you ask a question, you tail off on the mic, so I want to make sure I hear
definitely could have. If you worked in the entertainment industry and had a pseudonym, what would your alias be?
So are we saying like adult entertainment industry?
No, we could just say like the entertainment.
Oh, that's where I was at. Like, come on,
clubs.
I thought like.
Yeah. I think adult entertainment industry is where it's at.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I mean, I was going like.
Is that how y'all
Pain
interpreted
or
that?
Bambi, or Cinnamon. That was the other one I was.
Clearly, that's how Big Earn interpreted.
I was thinking entertainment is
Synonym, or excuse me, easy for me to say, cinnamon or slutty spice. I like it. All right, Kara, what's yours?
I'm gonna go with champagne.
Ooh,
champagne, like classy.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Wow.
David?
Mine. Oh man, you put me on the spot. You put me on the spot. Chris Dis says, "Caraway, I carry you away." I love it. I love it. That's too funny. Champagne. I'm trying to think of something good. I don't know. Oh, there we go.
Dr. Pecker. Dude. This is why we have Big Earn on.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. I'm like I'm like 5 shades of red over here now. I love that so much. All right, what about you? Let's put you on the spot. What's yours?
Mine would be something to do with like nasty, nasty boy or something.
Nasty boy.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. Nasty boy.
But my company's NAS Visual, so I'd be like nasty boy. Or my name could be Nasty Visuals too. I mean, we could.
I like that you had to do.
Yeah.
Nasty Nick. Nickalicious.
Oh.
Look, see, man.
Wow, everyone comes out for me. I appreciate it.
They're giving you some Nick the well, rhymes with Nick, but doesn't start with D.
Okay.
What is it? Love it. Hey, man, at least you got fan support, so that's good
awesome.
stuff. All right, here you go. Here's another one. This was funny when I read it. If someone offered you $10,000 every time they punched you in the face, how many times would you let them hit you?
Just abusive.
Nicky.
I like that one.
My goodness.
All right, how many times you getting hit, man? Or Kara, you can go first. Either one.
I mean, what is that worth?
I don't know. I'm kind of a wuss. I'm gonna probably only last one.
One?
Yeah.
Ernst says, what are they hitting you in the face with?
Honestly,
it's a
that's
punch.
my
It's a
question
straight punch
too.
in the face. Straight punch in the face.
I'd take 30.
Is it a child?
It's a grown adult.
It's Mike Tyson.
That's not Mike. It doesn't have to be Mike Tyson. It's just a grown adult punching you in the face.
Yeah, I'm kind of a wuss. I have birthed 4 children, but I'm kind of a wuss. I'm going with 1.
1? Okay, well, that's 10K. That's 10K, not bad. Ern says he's out if it's Mike Tyson. I don't blame him. All right, so let's say it wasn't Mike Tyson. It was just like,
say it's me.
Let's say it's Nick. There we go. Kara,
take 75.
Kara, let's say it was Nick. Would that change your mind, or would you still
maybe
say 1?
3 or 4 then? I might.
Man,
that's fair.
Man,
that's fair. I would take some punches from me as well.
So you don't think Nick would hit you one time and you'd be done?
I don't think Nick would hit me. I think he's more of a gentleman than that.
I would just be like 1, 2.
Yeah.
Take 100.
Ern said he'd take 100 of Nick's licks. I mean hits. Sorry. Sorry, I got confused earlier when they said Nicky Licky. Sorry, my bad.
Oh my goodness. This show is like derailing quickly.
Right? This is oh boy.
Wow.
This is exactly why we do pod decks at the end.
Yeah.
Right? So that we can
fantastic content up until,
if need be, we can cut this off. All right. You got one?
Yes. That's not as insane. If you could choose any mode of transportation, no matter how ridiculous, what method of transportation would you want to use to get around town?
Hovercraft.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah.
That was easy. All right.
Yeah.
I got another question. I mean,
go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
If your salary was doubled, what would you do with the extra income?
Chris says Superman. Fred Flintstone car. You got to remember these guys are a little bit delayed. Like we get to respond right away. These guys are a little delayed when they hear it. So
Fred Flintstone car.
The good old Fred Flintstone car. I love that. All right, what was your question again? Sorry.
If your salary was doubled, what would you do with the extra income?
Ooh, that might be a trick question about tonight's conversation.
True. After tonight, I'm investing in learning about my business and helping someone hire with automation and
I don't know. I feel like you guys might be investing in my business after this. No, is that not where this is going?
There you go.
Right.
See.
Right. It was a setup all along.
Yeah, you got to invest in Kara. That's how this goes. That's how this goes. All right.
what
Well,
would I
let's okay. So let's take your question and let's add the word irresponsible.
Okay, that's fair.
What would you irresponsibly invest the double in salary in?
I would irresponsibly invest in a private jet.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would get a boat for sure.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I get seasick, so
Yeah.
A boat and private jet.
What are you investing in? Irresponsibly.
You know, I'm a huge fan, like pre them breaking up. I'm a huge fan of Orange County choppers, and I've always said that I would want to get like a customized. And it doesn't have to have it doesn't have to have like the ape handlebars. You know what I mean? But just a customized dope ass, like, you know, motorcycle that I would probably ride like once every 4 months.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are you saying the Playboy Mansion is near you or Orange County Choppers, Chris Disc? Because I might be coming to see you depending on the answer. Well, actually, either way. I would buy a ridiculous fireworks show, the kind that has to be done out on the ocean.
On like just like a dinghy.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so Orange County Choppers are near you, Chris Disc. Oh, cool, man.
That's
I might have to
cool.
come up and see you. Not that I wouldn't come up and see you just to see you, but that would definitely sweeten the pot there to do that. All right, we're going to do one more and then we're going to wrap this thing up, Kara. We've already taken up too much of your time, so thank you.
I love it. This is awesome, guys.
You got another one or you want me to?
I got one. It's kind of ridiculous.
All right, go ahead.
If you could know the internet history of any one individual, who would it be?
If you could know the internet history of any one individual, who would it be?
That's actually a pretty good question.
The internet, so now maybe I'm diving a little too deep in this. Are we talking about like the internet browser history?
Yes, the internet browser history of any individual on Earth.
Oh, Big Earn, easy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He said you and I said Big Earn.
Oh man.
Too funny. Carrie, you got any favorites that you'd like to know their internet browser history?
I don't. I have been trying to rack my brain over here. I don't have anyone right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring.
That's okay. That's okay. Ern said he's blushing. He's blushing. All right. One last one and we're done. All right. What would you want to live in a world where everyone's thoughts appeared as text above their head?
Absolutely not.
No?
No.
Like everyone's thoughts were just like above their head. You know, like that little what's that game where like people put their phone up there? Like, weird looking game. Like everybody's is above their head.
Big Earns, absolutely. Let's go. Yeah, I guess it would cut out a lot of the BS. You just cut to the chase. You know exactly what someone's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, at least that way you know whether people were bullshitting you or not.
Exactly.
Truthfully, I mean, that's one good thing that would come out of that process.
But man, people would have a fun time with everything that goes on in this noggin.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. On that note.
Thanks everyone.
On that note, Nasty Nick is out.
Too funny. Kara, we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. In all seriousness, obviously this was a lot of fun in the end, but
seriously great information. Great conversation.
No, I love nerding out, talking about anything to do with, you know, business, anything to do with making somebody's business more productive.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I feel like we could have kept talking for a long time. Yeah.
Yep.
But we appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. I had an awesome time. I was a little nervous coming on, but I loved it. I'd totally do it again in a heartbeat. I loved it. So much fun.
Good to hear, and we'd love to have you on. And if you start your podcast, let us know. We'll be happy to reciprocate the visit.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, you know, everything's slow going when you're a one-man show. You know how that is. So
I get it totally. Well, the best advice as you know, novice podcasters, I think we'll call ourselves, the best advice I can give you was just do it.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, just get out there and do it, and don't worry about what anybody else thinks. You know, I think that was what held us up in the beginning is, what if people don't watch it? What if people don't care? What if people, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then finally we just said to hell with it. We're just going to do it. We'll just have fun, and it'll last as long as it lasts. And here we are almost at 50 shows. So
I love it.
Cool.
Totally. I think that adage is such great advice to end the show on, because I think it's so important for so many aspects of your business, is like you just got to start doing it.
In anything in life, for sure. Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you to the live audience who is watching. Thank you to those of you that maybe will listen after the fact. Don't forget, you can watch this on our YouTube channel. Just search Wedding Business Growth. You can search it on our YouTube channel. You can also hear the audio version on any podcast platform that you listen to: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever. We're there. We're hanging out. We're chilling. We got dope ass people like Kara on there with us. So check us out. And I will be in Chicago next week, but we're still going to try to put a show together for next week. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you all for all your support. Kara, hang out for just a second before we're going to close down the live side of things, but we'd love for you to hang out for just a second. Nick,
Sounds
you want to
good.
close us out?
Yep. Thanks everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Do something awesome this week, and we'll catch you next time.